And Ryan, we're already late, so we're just going to jump right into it. What do you say, buddy? Even though I was grooving to that those tunes, that was cool, man. I like that. But what's going on, brother? Oh, you're on mute.
I am on mute because I was enjoying the music so much, so I didn't want to, like everyone hear me dancing and shifting and stuff like that. I'm doing well today, brother. I got a huge milestone that I want to share with you and everybody.
Go.
4 years, 4 years, my man, 4 years. I'm married to my amazing wife today, August 10th, 2019. K Shri, my best friend, my confidant, my everything. The best thing that ever happened to me. 4 years, my man. It's that
That's awesome.
COVID blip, brother. Any advice? Any advice for someone who's
Well,
four
you know
years
what?
in?
None, because you got married just before everyone got confined, and if you can live through COVID with your wife, you're golden. You're golden, buddy. And
Funny
you know
story
what?
about that, Dan.
Especially being a new couple,
Funny story about
because
that,
it.
Dan. When we were planning,
Oh,
I wanted to do 2020 because I liked the year. Everybody told me no, and luckily I got ex-nayed by everybody else. But if it was up to me, brother, it would have been 2020. So shout out to everybody who got married during the pandemic and stuff like that. I know less people, but hey, man, we're an Indian family, man. We had like over 400 people at our wedding celebrating us, and that's the type. I couldn't imagine just having like 10 people there. It just wouldn't be the
yeah,
same, my man. So.
yeah. No, it wouldn't. And thank God you got it in before, buddy, because it was. And it's been, from what I understand, it's been a little bit of a nightmare since. Like people just trying to catch up and everything, and just yeah.
I read so many
Um,
sad
Good
stories.
for
Even
you.
Dean's talked about it with like his wife's catering business and stuff. But I've been reading some horror stories where like some banquet halls they've actually gone bankrupt. So people's
Yep.
deposits are gone and all that stuff. It's unfortunate. But
So
anyways,
true story.
yeah.
We had the High Performance Logistics Summit scheduled for 2020. 3 weeks before the summit, 4 weeks before the summit, um, COVID hit. So I ended up refunding almost 200 people tickets. Not only that, I couldn't get my deposits back from any of the venues. And
Wow.
so in the end, um, the audio video company that we hired to record everything and create a video and like really do it professionally went out of business. So over six
Wow.
grand I lost for that because I was like, okay, well, I want my money back. And I'm like, no, we don't give deposits back, especially now. And it was a pretty big battle. Like there was, so I had paid for Nick's flight from New Zealand, Marcus's flight from North Carolina, Sean's flight from Calgary. Who else do we have? Somebody coming in from California to speak. So I had all those flights that finally got refunded because originally Air Canada was like, no, we'll give you a year to use them. And I'm like, COVID's not ending. It seems like it's going to go on forever. Yeah. So it was over 12 grand of losses, I think, because companies just wouldn't refund or went out of business.
And that's the sad thing, right? You think about, okay, like you think about Air Canada, right? So you're like, okay, well, I'm gonna figure out a way. They're gonna give me a travel credit, or we're just gonna push it up or something like that. But then you think about those businesses that went out of like that went bankrupt, right? And we're seeing that as well. Dean talked about it yesterday. Like as diesels kind of go, those mom and pop like owner operators, they're gonna leave the industry. They're either gonna go
Yeah.
work for a big company or kind of do some local work or stuff like that. And I just can't imagine like, you go through that, you persevere, and at that point in time, it's fun. It's funny how life happens, man. I was talking to our neighbor. They have a golden retriever as well, so we always meet up in the morning and talk to each other. And she was kind of saying, like it's been, during that time of COVID, we miss when the air smelled better. There was no pollution in the air. We were able to walk. But what was the result of that, right? We couldn't go do the things that we normally like to do. Like I remember the summit because the year before you and I connected. Yeah, you and I connected in 2019 actually, and you had
Yep.
the summit then, and then you were doing the 2020 summit, and then I was looking forward to it. It was going to be really, really fun and things like that. And then, it got pushed, and then blink, man,
Yeah.
we're in 2023. Any news,
I
man?
know.
Any
Isn't it
breaking news
crazy?
about a new one? And what's
Yeah, we are going to put one on. We realistically, with everything else we got going, it'll probably be Q1 2024. Realistically, just with Bridger and launching and all the things you and I are doing every day for that. Thought about it a lot. Like how do we get this community back together? And it was one of those things where it's just, you know what, I want to be able to offer the community everything.
yeah.
And right now, I don't think is the time. The industry's down, so a lot of people aren't going to want to put their sales teams into a conference for a full day, and all that kind of jazz. And unfortunately, it's when the people should double down on that stuff. But by next year, I think with all the platforms, AI, how it's changing, how our system's changing, and all that, I think it'll be a remarkable show to showcase everything we got. So I want to aim for Q1 2024.
I can't wait. I think it's going to be really, really cool. And it just reminds me of
Yeah.
something that I heard from Gary Vee. It's like that jab, jab hook. It's like you kind of give,
Jab,
give,
jab,
give,
jab, right
give,
hook.
give.
Yeah.
Yeah. Give, 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 and then realistically ask. And I think, with something like a summit is like, you bring some people on here, people are just going to find massive value. And you're right, Dan. Right now, it's I've talked to some like friends in the industry. It's sad all around, at the end of the day, it's not. I think when you have like a down month and stuff like that, people say, hey, get your numbers up, get your prospecting. But at the end of the day, it's like, even that's not helping some people, right? And it's just it's bleak. It's bleak, man. It's and that's what we're here for, to talk about the reality of everything that's going on, right? Like you and I, we have our own businesses,
100%.
and that's why we have our show here. And Dan, like, what was actually, let's piggyback off of that. So when you did, let's go back in time a little bit, since we're talking 2019 here. Was that your first summit that you've ever done? Like you've ever actually hosted okay, so talk to the audience. What went through your mind? And not the COVID one. Well, let's talk about 2019.
It was one of these things where I was like, I've wanted to do it for a long time. And it was like, I kept telling myself, well, now is not the right time because of X, Y, or Z. And finally, I just called one day into the location. I said, how much? And they said, put it on my card. Let's go. And it was like, as soon as I did that, it was on, because I've paid for the venue. Right. And it was like, okay, all right, well, I better get to work and get it done. And it was kind of one of the most freeing experiences. And I put it out there to people. And I think we had 25, 30 people at that one, probably 25, 30. Put it out to a couple of owners I knew and said, bring them in. A couple of people I had contracts with that I was training, a couple of companies. I said, send 2 or 3 reps for free. A couple of companies, they gave me a check to bring them all in. And just like all of a sudden it was go. And it was like, okay, now you gotta figure out kind of how to bring the audience from A to Z, and what it is, the bridge that you're looking to build and you're looking to pretty much correct for everyone. And then started putting the content together, started going through like personal things that have happened to me throughout that experience, and sharing with the audience, as those experiences, and then just putting the bullet points down on the board and saying, as much as some people are like, maybe you got to practice, I was like, I'm going to have to freestyle it.
Yes. Well, you're an Eminem fan, man. You're 8 Mile and Eminem guy, man, so
100%.
You got to freestyle it.
Even like all the videos, I just have to tell myself, Stacy, there we go. Look at your pictures back. I have to tell myself, here's the points that I want to get to. Stay on point, because I go off the highway all the time.
You don't say. You don't
Ryan,
say.
Ryan, I know you've probably never noticed it, but I go off quite a bit.
Well, I want to talk about that too, because like, kudos to you for actually like, putting on your credit card. So I want to give you some grace for that, because I thought that was amazing. Because if you don't do that, and everybody who's watching, sometimes you just got to do it. You if you think about it so much, like right now, I'm like, I need a Mac. Like I really want to up my video editing and stuff like that. And I'm like, you know what? Did the research. I'm tired of the research. Just go and do it. But anyways, coming back to like your first 2019 conference.
So if you want, just so you know, Ryan, if it's a matter of not wanting to spend that cash outright, if you go to the Apple store online, you can. What I do is I use SparkPay. Affirm.
I was just gonna say there's another Spark that we're working on, but we'll announce that.
Yeah, no, sorry, I get confused. So I use Affirm. Yep. 12 months, one payment each month, 12 months, no interest. So I use somebody else's money to get new equipment every year, like brand new Mac. And then as soon as that's paid, I get a different device. And as soon as that's paid, I get a different device. So I'm kind of rotating every 2 to 3 years. So I first started with a laptop because that's what I needed. I paid for that for a year. Then I got this. Then when this is done, I got my new iPad. And all I do is I just keep rotating. So I budget in for my business. $150 a month on tech.
On tech,
And
yeah.
every month I just know that's it. And I upgrade my stuff every 2 years. So, or three, depending on what I'm doing, right? Like
Yeah.
I got like I probably won't update this Mac for probably 2 years, but I'll probably update because this has got the M2 in it. But I'll probably update my because I got an i9 processor in my laptop. So the next in a year from now, I'll probably update my laptop to an M2 or 3 processor, right? And it just keeps revolving. So you have kind of like every 2 years, you have the excuse me. I apologize. I didn't even know that was coming out. That was bad live. Did you hear that? So every 2 years, yeah. So if you want, and you don't want to drop a ton of cash because Mac's expensive, right? Like Mac
It
is
is. It is.
really
And especially
expensive
for what
for
we're
you.
looking for to do. And I think, and well, here's what. Let's talk about the other side of that. You're upgrading your equipment so that you can be your best version. How many logistics reps are doing that for their own self, right? Are they doing it for the training or doing all the
Right now,
coaching and
very few
exactly, right? But like you're saying, right? Like
companies right now are not.
they're not, right? And well, what do you think about that, Dan? Do you think it's up to the company or do you think it's up to the person, the individual? And whether it be an agent, whether it be a salary, doesn't really matter. Just hey, anybody who works at some place, who's it up to?
So here's my take on it. When I always approached my boss first and said, "This is a course I want to take. Are you willing to pay for it?" Because I'm and where I was in logistics, it was a 30-70 split. So anything that the company would pay for, I'd pay 30% of, right? So there's still a piece of it that's attached to my commissions. But if it's $1,000, I'm paying 300, they're paying 7. And I would go to my boss and he would say no. So I would buy it myself. If I thought it would up my game, I would buy it myself. And then after the second or third time I went and it was always no, I didn't even bother asking. I would just do it myself. Because here's the thing. Yes, the company is getting 70% of my commissions, but whoever you work for right now, like if you're 60-40, 70-30, 80-20,
or even no split
like
at all.
Yeah, or even no split at all. The drive for me was always to be the best I could be. And because I don't have really much of an education, like I'm a grade 9 dropout, it was always up to me to educate myself on what I needed to learn. And I learned that very quickly in life that as much as some people are like, well, my company's got a training program. Okay. But what else can you do every day? Like every day on the way to work, I'd go to Automobile University. I'd have Zig Ziglar. I'd have Tony Robbins. I'd have Ed Foreman. I'd have the old school, Napoleon Hill, Bob Proctor, all these guys. I would do a course every 2 days on the way to work.
Yeah.
And it just helped me become a better version of myself. And, that comes with another level, Ryan, where if you start to dislike who you work for, and because it's happened to me, and I'm sure other people have been through this. If you haven't, good for you. But it's like, why am I going to work to make that person money? But it's you. It's you. It's being the best version of yourself. And I think if you're not in some kind of training, some kind of course, some kind of advanced education, every single day, a new one every single month or 2 months, or what's the next skill I need to learn? What's the next level I need to get to? I don't care what that is. That could be assembling a massive amount of YouTube videos and kind of going step by step to learn productivity or learn time management, like whatever the case is. We talked about a few of them in the last 2 weeks. If you're not doing that, you're actually letting yourself in 6 months down. Yes. You're letting your family down if you have a family. You're letting your future family down if you're not married or whatever. I mean, I just think you're letting yourself and the possibilities in life down. I can tell you, the more and more you study, the more and more you realize you have 10 to 20 levels above where you presently are. I don't care where you are. I don't care if you're doing 10 million a year in GP. You have 10 to 20 levels above where you are right now. And that's a fact.
That is 100% a fact. And there's so many nuggets there. There's a proverb that we kind of say in the West Indian community as well. And it's for everybody. It's like they can take everything away from you except your education. You know, they can take away your bank account, they can take everything, but your education and the things that you've kind of learned, it's impeccable, and those are the really important things. And you know, I'm gonna have to go on my own little tangent here, but on my show this coming Monday, I interviewed somebody in the UK this week, and she was kind of talking. We were talking about imposter syndrome, and she was like, you know, when you're thinking about like those, you're talking about those 10 to 12 levels. Why not you? You know, think about that. You know, why not you? Why not you, the leader? You know, and why not, you know, embrace it? Embrace everything that's kind of going on in life, because that's actually what's really important to everybody. And I think that's where we kind of look at those levels. And Dan, if you want to get into the clip today, because it actually really parallels what we're talking about. Because for us, you know, I'm blessed. Like everything happens for a reason. I'm blessed that I met you and the navigation that I've gone through my path. Because when I started at this new company, I didn't know where to kind of lead towards, and your information was right for me. You always say, "Hey, when the student's ready to learn, teacher will appear." Right? But you know, I think when you kind of surround yourself, like you and I, we're part of our own inner circle. And I encourage everybody who's out there, get an inner circle. Doesn't matter. Get a mentor. Get somebody. Get an inner circle of people that you want to be like, or people that even you know, my biggest things I look at, I'm you and I know you're an old school wrestling guy. I'm a new school wrestling guy, but you know those factions, you know, like the NWO, the Bret Hart Foundation, they always had that big mentor guy. So let's say Bret Hart is the guy, but then they have the younger guy that they want to groom into that. And you know, for me, what I look at is like inner circles. Are they, what are they doing for you, and what are you doing for them? Dan, you're talking about
Yeah.
YouTube videos just now, like the old automobile university. I take advantage of that. I call it the gym university. I get my pump in, and then I listen to an audio, not an audiobook, a podcast, and I often send them to you. But you know, for everyone who's like watching out there, join a club. Like if you're, find out what your quote unquote weaknesses are, because a weakness is not a weakness unless you decide you don't want to do it, right? So anything can be trained, everything like that. So if you kind of suck at making sales calls, join a Toastmasters club. No, learn how to speak. You know, like at the end of the day, nobody wants to get on a sales call and be like, "Hey, bro, what's going on?" And you know, cut that. You know, be somebody who actually
Yeah.
has a vocabulary and things like that. Learn from the lessons and apply it. Because Dan, I've said this a million times. You could read a million books out there, but if you don't apply it, then there's no sense of reading any of those books. You know, that's
Oh,
why I only rotate between 5 or 6 books personally,
yeah.
because I find something brand new every single time. You are too. You know, you highlight. I see all the books and things like that you do. But yeah, let's get into the clip today, Dan, because I'd love to get your thoughts right away
Well,
on it.
two things, Ryan.
Before, yeah.
That's why they call it shelf help instead of self help. So the average person, I think it's 98% of people read books just to read. They actually don't consume or learn anything from it. They read it because, I mean, listen, it helps vocabulary, it helps sentence structure. The more you read, there's all these proven psychological benefits to reading. But here's the thing: if everyone that read a book were to use the information in the book, I mean, a business book, self help book, right? Look at Jack Welch, right? Brought GE up to amazing heights. He wrote a book at exactly how he did it. Anyone who read that book, why aren't they bringing a company like GE up to those heights?
There we go.
Because they're not applying the information, right? The application of information is where everything starts, right? I remember Bob Proctor telling me, he goes, Dan, you know, a lot of people say, you know, develop your strengths, manage your weaknesses. And he goes, I think it's the craziest thing ever. Why would you manage your weaknesses? Develop your strengths and double down on your weaknesses to develop them. Because why manage them? There's nothing to manage. If you suck at it, get better. Everyone's got a perfect memory. Read the memory book by Lorraine Thomas. It'll teach you how to get a perfect memory. Like, and these are the things. And it's not just the book. It's like, what are you going to do when you read that sentence? That sentence that gives you that, oh my God, like, oh my God, this is life changing. Let me just go to the next page. No, stop. How are you going to change your life today with that information? I love that you said that, because shelf help, there's so many dusty bookshelves out in the world.
I love
man.
that. I love that. Shelf help. I'm gonna write that down. That's gonna be, you know, I gotta say, man, that's better than education and graphicality.
Geographic-nality?
Yeah, there we go. There we go. Bring it old school here, brother. Bring it in old school.
Here we go, brother. You ready?
Let's do this, brother.
When I'm around you, it makes me evaluate other people I'm around and what energy do they give me. And, you know, I don't think people evaluate often enough the vibrational frequency they're getting from the people they surround themselves the most with. Do you believe there are toxic people? Do you believe there's toxic energy?
Toxic energy, right when he said the vibration, I thought of Rico, just two choices, Rico Rakoski's emotional vibrational color scale. And actually, speaking of that, Stacy, you're still here. Good. I never got your book out, and I apologize. I think that was supposed to go out weeks ago, and I have it in a package, and I moved some papers this morning, and I saw the package, and I'm like, oh my God, so Stacy, it's going out today. But Rico's got the emotional vibrational color scale. And what it is the colors represent the vibration you're on. And the higher the vibration, the more you attract good into your life. And, Ryan, I believe you've heard the saying, there's people that walk in the room and light it up. And there's people that walk in the room and the room empties. And I don't know if that's the right saying, but I'm sure somebody's going to correct me on that because that sounds stupid when I said it. It sounded great in my head.
No, I think it's great. Well, let's roll with it. Let's roll with it.
Okay, but you know what I mean. There's people that walk in a room and like they just elevate the energy in the room, and then there's people that walk in a room and people are like, and they're gone, yes. and you can sense this. Like this is a human, like spidey sense, like whatever you want to call it, and
you can tell.
You are the sum of the 5 people you hang around the most, right? So if you hang around toxic people, toxic shit's going to happen in your life. It's just what it is.
Yep.
And not to mention, Ryan, perspective. Right? Like if a sales rep going through what we're going through in logistics, like here's something that I believe everyone should know. This isn't the last time this shit's going to happen in logistics. It's happened many times before. There's been many fallouts. There's been many high mountains that people have climbed. It is what it is. Yeah. It's the industry. It's ups and downs. There's been recessions. There's been higher interest rates. There's been everything for years. Things go like this. It's how you manage the valleys that truly show how you're going to succeed at the hilltop, right? Like in the valley at Everest, when you're at base camp, if you're not prepared to get up to the top of the mountain, you will never get there. Yeah. You will die on your way. So what are you doing in the valley to prepare for the next scale to the top of the mountain? That's the question. And I think that's the question everyone's got to ask themselves. Is what am I doing right now? Am I sitting here saying, oh my God, this industry sucks? Am I looking for jobs out of the industry? Am I focusing on what matters most? It's like Greg Reed said that John Assaraf taught. Open an umbrella. Everything inside that umbrella you keep dry. Everything else let go. Ryan, we're facing this right now. Our partners are facing this right now. What do I hold on to? What do I let go? What do I relinquish control of? What do I automate, delegate, delete? What do I do? And it's one of the biggest questions we are ever going to ask. And I think we're going to ask it at every level of those 20 levels that we still have to climb. And then when we get to that 20th, we're going to ask it for the next 20. Then we're going to ask it for the next 20. It's like being a new father. How do I do this? No fucking clue, but you figure it out, and you just don't say, okay, well, you know what, baby, you just take care of your own. I'm not figuring it out. I'm not educating myself.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing because what you do supports that.
100%. And, we're talking about those levels, and you're talking about, being a new father and things like that. And there was a podcast I sent over to you yesterday with Ed Milet, the Ed Milet Show, where he was talking about, ships don't sink because of the water around them. Ships only sink because the water you let inside of them. And it gave me perspective when he said that, because at the beginning of this clip, he says, when I'm around you, I feel at peace. My energy is around. So when I talk about relationships, if you're in a sales position right now in logistics, which our audience is, and you have like that toxic member who's always complaining about, trucks, like, there's no freight or anything like that. Get rid of those stuff, man. I've never seen high performers complain. Maybe they'll complain a little bit, but I feel like, no offense, the higher the tenure, the more complainers that they are, right? You just, I don't know, they compare it to the good old days, right? But with that being said, find the people, and even if it's not, that's why we have LinkedIn and we have shows like this. Like back in my day, Dan, before, not back in my day, I sound like old guy, but before these podcasts were available or LinkedIn was available, I would never connect with somebody in a different company who's like a sales rep like myself, because I would see them as a competitor, right? But then my life changed when I connected with Drew Pearson, and we started sharing ideas. And then I realized, like, he's not going after my customers. I'm not going after his customers. Who freaking cares, right? And when he says something like that, like, I look at my circle and I want, before, Dan, I had a mind switch a couple weeks ago. I used to say that I want every conversation to like be fruitful or meaningful and things like that. But then I realized that I am not equipped or prepared to always be on my 10 out of 10 game all the time. I need the mindless conversations. I need the times to be like, hey, let's joke. Like, there's people that I still talk to from high school. And honestly, our conversations are about like, hey, remember when we did this in high school, even though we left high school 15 years ago? But that's for me. I won't let that consume me. We're not having those conversations every single day, but I need those mindless conversations, because what all of us, we talk about burnout and different things like that. And I just really believe that you bring in the right people. You bring the right people to the bus and you just drive the bus, you know? But
Yeah.
a question for you, Dan, because I had this conversation. Who did I have this conversation with? Somebody. I think it's for my show. I asked her, you know, as we evolve in life, Dan, you're talking about those 10 to 20 levels that we can achieve. The people who are at level 5 might not be the same people there at level 8 or level 10, and vice versa.
No, you never are.
You never know.
You
You
never
never
are.
are. You never are. And Dan, how do people? Okay, forget that. Not how do people. What experiences have you had as you evolve in your life? And I want you to look at the trajectory, right? Because, hey, Montreal kid, not a high school dropout, doing some bad things, you know, going to, you know, Cypress Hill, and even though you still love him, but just in the negative connotation now, to like, okay, hey, I'm making some money at this place now in logistics, versus, hey, I moved to Toronto, and then the cycle of people have changed. Because I hate when people say, oh, my day ones, but it's just like, I don't think. How do I say this? Because you and I, because I'm being a hypocrite if I say, I was going to say, you know, your day ones won't evolve with you, but I can honestly say that our relationship and a lot of relationships that I have, they've evolved together with that time,
Yes.
right? And the ones that
So
haven't.
here's what it is. Yes, here's what it is. For one, you're going to lose a lot of people that are in your life right now.
Mm.
And the only reason being is you grow apart. Those that grow with you, in whichever shape or form, you will remain friends with, because there's a commonality, right? So it's like my friends, when I first got into logistics, I had friends outside the logistics industry. Within 2 years, I was doing things that they couldn't do.
Yes.
No ill about who
No
they are as a
shade.
person, as an individual. There's nothing. It's just I was meeting people. We were going on trips that these people couldn't afford. It's just what it was. So then you kind of develop this new series of people in your life. And I still saw them. When I moved to Ontario, again, that distance created gaps. The people that I still speak to are 3 people from that time in my life.
Mm-hmm.
2 of them very rarely, and one of them was texting me like every second day when I was sick. And I still speak to that individual today, more than even my parents. But the evolution of who you become as you grow, it's just like in marriage, Ryan. If you're married to somebody and you start elevating your life and the other person doesn't in whatever way, there's a gap that forms. Once that gap forms, if you do not consciously work on that gap, you will grow apart.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they say relationships are work.
Yes.
Right? There's been times you and I haven't spoke for 2 or 3 weeks. And then we'll send each other text, what's going on? Because it's work. Like, all of this is work. Everything you do every day with your wife, even at 4 years, I'm at 17 years. And it's not like it's work, but it's work. You have to consciously, my wife and I have to consciously say, hey, you and I, we're going to go hang out here today, or we're going to do this together and laugh together and enjoy each other's company and make the most out of every moment. And I know it sounds Pollyanna to a lot of people, but when you get sick the way I got sick, your whole perspective changes. And I wish everybody in the world had my perspective, because those people close to you are so important, so important. And if you, as you say, Ryan, lift as you climb, you would be amazed at how many amazing people you can have by your side.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying having 10,000 friends and followers. I'm talking about a core 5, 10 amazing people, because I think, and again, my own opinion, don't trash me, everyone, but I think over 10, you're stretched thin.
Yes. Yeah.
And you can't have quality conversations. Like, look at some of the conversations you and I have off air, just in a phone call. I look at the conversations Rico and I have. It's like, these conversations are life-changing.
Yes.
They really are, if you pay attention to them. And to me, that's everything in our lives. Like, why would we want, and again, some people might be like, well, Dan, you do need that brainless time. Yeah, for sure you do. That's what movies are for. Like, I went and saw Oppenheimer. I don't know if you saw Oppenheimer. My wife and I went and saw it on Tuesday. And Christine and I afterwards, like, wow, were you keeping track of that? I was trying to keep track as best I could about these names and who's who. And after 3 hours and Atomic Bomb and Oppenheimer and this and that, and who was screwing them over and all this. And it was like, but I forgot about everything else for 3 hours.
And there we go, and that's what I think is so important, to have that in whether it be like your vice, like, a healthy advice out as well, right? Like, go see a movie, go to the gym, go do something, go for a walk and things like that. And when you're talking about different people for different stages in your life, I love what you said, that you have that, like, that 5. I'm a back in the day, I don't know if anybody had this as well, but back in the day for like Rogers, our telecom company here in Canada, they had like a My5. So it was like a cell phone plan where you basically pick 5 people and you had unlimited calling to them. It's free, yeah. And then anybody outside that, you had like 200. Remember when we used to have like 200 daytime minutes and like call after 6 p.m.? Oh man, this is completely different times then. But I like my life because like of my music and stuff like that. I know quite a bit of people, but my life changed. Instead of trying to know everybody, I've kind of have my core 5, including my family and with that, and everyone's kind of like an acquaintance, So I'm not gonna book like and I love to have acquaintances, get to learn like their story and stuff like that. And I make it a point. Actually, one of my goals for August is to have coffee with somebody new every single week. So I can carve out 2 hours just to have coffee with somebody that maybe has been following me on social media for a while. I know they kind of live close. Like, hey, what are you doing? And I think you got to make that first step too. And the topic today about toxic energy and people around you. When it comes to energy, you're talking about the colors with Rico, and I love that. I look at energy in the way of that energy cannot die. Energy is something that can only be transferred. So at the end of the day, whether it be positive, whether it be negative, it's kind of like a positive negative thing from there. But I like to transfer that energy. Instead of gossiping about like how bad trucks are, or full transparency, I want to not call everybody out, but like, hey, by the time you're at the water cooler complaining about yellow/YRC, but you've never booked a load with them, what good did that do for you? Going on Freight Waves or going to these websites and posting these articles. And I understand it for collaboration to have these conversations, but what good did that do for you? Are you having the conversation with your customers who actually do use those companies? Did you ask like I asked my customers, hey, do you guys use these guys? Like what are you guys kind of seeing? And that is education as well for yourself. So, for me, I'm not a big fan of toxic. I'm about that Zen life, just relaxing and bringing the people that I need to be, because I understand that it's like a shipper, right, Dan? You can be emailing them, calling them. They're not going to reply to you. But until you have something that they want, they need, or like, there's some kind of synergy, or they finally give you that call, then it's like, okay, cool. Let's put Ryan into the Rolodex and let's see where this kind of goes from here. But at the end of the day, with myself, and I know with yourself, we kind of keep our things held to our chest. If you want our time, it's really protected. And I say protect your energy to everybody.
So a couple of things with that, Ryan. I love that you said that. Everything is a transfer of energy.
Yeah.
It all is. I mean, our bodies are just molecules of energy vibrating at a high rate of speed. that create us humans. Everything sales is a transfer of energy. Anytime you buy something, it's a transfer of energy because it creates that dopamine, which creates that excitement, which is energy. Like it's all just a transfer of energy. And right now, people are less inclined to take on that energy. Okay, so be it. How else am I going? And like now is the perfect time to, we've said it before, gamify. Like try and figure a new way out, a new way to do things. Like a new way to sell, a new way to engage prospects. Hybrid out your sequences, do all sorts of stuff because now's the time to test it and just keep going. Like enough with the pity party. For all of you out there that are in this pity party stage, give yourself today, and after today, that's enough. You're back on the horse, and you're gonna crush it, and you're gonna create. There's people out there making millions right now.
Yep.
In every environment. I said it said it to Dune around truck waves 2 weeks ago. I go, I don't believe there's a freight recession. There's a commodity recession. But you think pharmaceuticals is hurting? You think anyone's changing the way they feed their dogs? No.
Right? And look around you too. Nothing's shortage. Like, we want to talk about freights down, but I can't say the last time I went to like the grocery store and they were completely out of stuff, or like retail, or I couldn't see that. So
I've actually seen that quite a bit in my neighborhood.
Yeah,
quite a bit. Like just certain things, like protein bars, they don't have any, or we're a big Fiber One granola bar family. None. It's like things like that, little things like that. But for the most part, everything's in stock.
Everything's in stock, so everything's going right. So go from there. All right, Dano, this has been a really, really fun one, man. We got everybody back on here. Dan, tomorrow, you missed it last Friday, but tomorrow's gonna be day one of our book launch that we're doing. Talk a little bit about it, man. You probably got to read. I'm gonna read the chapters tonight, but let everybody know because I kind of explained it last week. But we'd love to get your thoughts.
So I'm excited. We're going to be doing a book club because I think again, books are 3-4 years of somebody's life encapsulated in a couple of 100 pages, which is, a week worth of education and studying. And you've seen a lot of my books. I dissect the hell out of books. And with the book club that you thought of, I think it's going to bring so much value to people, just in the sense where, we pull a couple of paragraphs, talk about it for a bit, like what inspired us about it, what was the big lesson, what was the big aha. And I encourage all of you watching and listening, grab the book. We're going to do Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now is the first book we're going to do. If you have it at home, read the first 2 chapters, and join us tomorrow, because I think, you see, there's one thing, right? And here's the one thing with a book, and I know we're way past our time, but with a book, when you read it, you get this idea. And then when you have a conversation with other people about it, that idea evolves. And if you have an idea and it's like, it seems too far out, that conversation with other people might bring that idea right into focus. And you're like, let's go, let's do it. And that's the power of a book club. That's the true power of a book club, is being able to talk these ideas through, come up with action plans, start it, and then meet a week later or so and talk about what happened, where you were, what happened, where you are now. I'm looking forward to it, buddy.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome, and Dan's gonna make a post today of like, hey, if you don't even have the book, how to get it on Amazon and things like that. So we're gonna be looking forward to that. And I think it's that accountability piece too, because like there's so many times that I start books and I'm like, it doesn't really grip me, and I want to move on to the next one, or you kind of get like everyone kind of goes for like the same type of book. So I'm really looking forward to it. My wife recommended me the book, so with that being said, we're looking forward to seeing everybody.
Now, have you ever read it before?
Yes, I read it, but I was at a different I was at a different phase in life. Yeah. So I actually read it in high school. So
gosh, you're gonna see the world. Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, even now, and reading it 3 months from now, after you've implemented a lot of stuff, it changes again. Like you can literally take one book, Think and Grow Rich, for example, and read it 3 times a year for your whole life, and every time you read it, it'll change.
And that's the point of it, right?
It'll
You're supposed to take something out of it. So
Yeah.
you know, we're
I've
looking
got like a
forward to it.
list of 15 books I wanna do for the book club. So
Oh,
I can't wait.
yeah.
It's
This
gonna be
is
so
gonna be
much
a
fun.
fun time. This is gonna be such a fun
Yeah.
time. I'm
Yeah.
really loving
And
this.
you know what we'll do after Eckhart Tolle is we'll get a book that's right in the position we are in our business, and so we can actually walk sales reps through the books that help you elevate your sales game and your business.
Oh,
I think
100%.
that
And
would be
we're
fun
all
because
and
it's
we're
not
always up
just
for.
sales books.
Oh no. Even I would love to even get some fiction books too, as well, like later on and stuff like that, just to kind of have that conversation. And for the audience, everybody who's watching and listening to this on the audio download later on, like let us know what books have changed
Yeah.
your life. Maybe we'll create a poll or something like that, and kind of go from there. But yeah, tomorrow's gonna be fun. Well, not necessarily Fun Day Friday, Book Club Fridays. BCF.
BCF.
BCF, my man.
What?
BC.
Great minds think alike. Did you see
There
that?
we go, brother. So, brother, take us home, my man.
All right.